We're here in Miri to see the spread of SCDC across Sarawak. They have offices here in Miri, Sibu, Bintulu, Muka and Betong.
Everywhere in Sarawak, we have one thing in common: we all love our food.
That's right, and that's why SCDC puts food on our plates.
At one time, a farmer was probably the most common profession here in Sarawak.
And in spite of all the development and diversification, agriculture is still at the root of our economy.
And that is why SEDC have a hand in agricultural projects across Sarawak and even overseas, making sure that we are well fed.
Now, agriculture is still very much part of SDC. In fact, it is increasing in terms of projects, in terms of commitment to develop new areas. For example, they have a new abattoir. They bought a new farm in Australia as well. I understand that they are also coming up with new projects, new facilities, new manufacturing, in fact, into agro-based products. So that is, in a way, it's an increase in terms of involvement of SCDC in the agriculture sector. At the moment, in terms of food trade, we are in a deficit of about 4 billion per year. We want to address that so that we become, instead of importing, we are exporting. So that is one of our objectives under the post-COVID development strategy of the state government. The agriculture sector is playing a very, very big role in the development of the state. And now it is the fourth largest contributor to the state's GDP, and we contributed about 11.7%, amounting to 14.9 billion of the state's GDP in 2020. We hope to increase that in the near future once we transform the agriculture sector in the state.
You talk about agriculture, the perception is a man with a hat, with a charcoal. If that is your perception and picture of a farmer in distress, who wants to go into agriculture? So you have to change the perception that the farmer is a modern entrepreneur that is involved in food production, and it is an industry by itself.
SCDC is involved in so many different products.
They cover earth, air and water.
They have a 369-hectare plantation just 75 kilometers away from Miri.
Then a 486-acre coconut plantation here in Asajaya.
We are now looking at new variety of coconut. If successful, this would be able to provide, the new products like canned coconut milk, canned coconut drinks, the coconut water, which is now very highly demanded in the market, not only here but also overseas.
Larang sawit kalau total area sekarang masih in progress mau buka dia lah, tapi belum buka habis. Total area dia itu 1.000 lebih lah hektar. Kalau itu kelapa I punya itu 197 hektar lah. Kelapa I biasa memang kalau ada permintaan daripada itu saya punya partner itu asumsi ini itu. Dia akan request dengan kita punya ladang, lepas itu nanti saya punya ladang akan urus saya punya anak buah tadi sana itu, yang kelapa air sana itu suruh dia orang usaha keluar dia lah. Dan next day nanti dia orang akan customer itu akan sampai kilang sini, nanti dia minta itu semua itu macam jualan punya invoice apa itu semua itu terpulang dengan kita orang sini kilang punya in charge lah.
Sarawak is very lucky to have such a beautiful and vast landscape to support its agriculture.
That is 1,000 kilometers of coastline for aquaculture and 124,000 square kilometers of lands for crops.
And here at the PPES Aqua Satubong, its operator Seahorse Group has managed to blend traditional agriculture with modern farming techniques.
This farm have 73 ponds. Average size 6,000 meters square. We have 1 hectare. We average it become the 6,000 meters square. Every pond we can produce 6 tons per crop. We started this farm in 1999, almost 20 years. This farm is because we're using the traditional way. We also facing the disease problem. Sometimes win, sometimes lose. After 2 years ago, we start implement the smart farming. Then the disease we can mainly overcome, then reduce the loss. So now benefit of all the worker, all the local, they can pay by commission and salary. So we export the higher value, also benefit to the SCDC and our company. Actually, this project is belong to PPS Aqua. We only the operator. We are lucky that they allow us cooperate together, use the land, develop the high value product from this land. All the shrimp we export to China, Australia, New Zealand, Middle East.
Back in the 70s, we have acquired the Rosewood Cattle Station in Northern Territory in Australia, which is capable of holding up to 40,000 heads of cattle in an area of about 900,000 acres. And recently, we have acquired another farm nearer to Darwin, another 100,000 acres, which is actually meant for the fattening of the cattle.
Of course, we have the abattoir in Siburan, about just 20 over kilometers from Kuching. That is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, abattoir in Malaysia. A very modern setup, right? It has a capacity of 100 heads per day, and it still is very much underutilized. Well, firstly, we don't have the market for it. I mean, we can't slaughter 100 heads per day for the local market, right? It has to be export oriented. It has to be converted into other farms if necessary. That's why we also set up this corned beef factory.
SCDC provide these animals from Australia, and we use those cattle and those buffaloes for our scheme, for our livestock development scheme, which our smallholders in the rural areas, we distributed it to them. That is trying to develop the rural economy through the livestock industry. So in that way, SCDC plays a major role as part of the supply chain.
And it has to remain competitive, but it's going to be the one with the assurance of it being halal, it being tasty, it being premium. It's all about that, because you see, when we talk about the cattle setup that we have in Northern Territory, Australia, with that 1,000 acre of land, a combination of arid and wetland, that we have both. The cattle are actually roaming freely.
So once they arrive here, whatever animal we receive, we will check for any injury, any weakness, any injury physically during the transportation. That one, if there is any injury, we will keep in another pen, whereas the healthy one we put at one side. So the first thing we will give our grass. We have Napier grass, and then we have Brachiaria decumbens. For about 2 weeks, we will fully concentrate with the grass. After 2 weeks, we will start to bit by bit give them the concentrate feed. That is the PKE, palm kernel expeller. It's also local product.
Okey, kita menerima lembu daripada Karabungan, mana di sana kita ada ladang peternakan kita di sana. Di sini kalau kita tengok di belakang, kita hanya ada feedlot. Feedlot bermaksud macam kandang sementara menunggu proses persembelihan.
We put the grass, the napier. Now the napier we have around 120 acre per harvest. Using our harvester, we can get around 800 kilo one round. Yeah. So within one day, if the animal is around this much at the field now, we will collect around 5 trips per day.
Okey, bila lembu kita terima di sini, dia akan melalui laluan rem dekat sana untuk ke kandang ni, ditimbang sebelum. Okey, sebab tu kembu itu akan diberi makan, akan melalui program menggemukkannya. Okey, selalunya kita ambil masa dalam seminggu ke 2 minggu. Okey, untuk bagi dia barat naik sedikit. Kemudian dia akan melalui proses untuk persembelihan.
Kualiti yang disediakan di outlet ini adalah sentiasa fresh, segar, disembelih dari ladang 3 dan terus dibawa ke outlet ini dan terus diproses untuk pembungkusan dan menyimpan di dalam peti sejuk selama untuk 3 hari dan sampai 7 hari.
We have already set up a few outlets to sell this our own beef, and we have successfully done so in Kuching, Bintulu, and Miri, and hopefully, of course, we will be expand these facilities so that more and more people will be able to enjoy.
The new concept is a butcher shop where we are selling fresh beef and F&B Western grill in one roof. Our new concept now is more look modern compared to previous one. And then the concept now is together with the F&B, with the Western grill. We have 3 outlets at the moment in Sarawak. In Kuching at SCDC Plaza, Miri, Permai Jaya, and Bintulu at Margareta Plaza Hotel.
If we can bring in celebrity chefs to promote our product, which they should, because this is the best quality beef that the chef probably can get hold of, right? Apart from its assurance of the quality, the halal status, and the freshness, there's nothing better, right? We have the celebrity chef who has faith in our meat, and it should be the best rendang. It should be the best satay. It should be the best whatever. That we can actually produce through the chef expertise in handling this quality meat.
We are the only one in Malaysia at the moment, I dare to say that, who have a full range of supply chain, where we have our own cattle, we have our own feedlot, and then we have our slaughterhouse with an international standard, and then we have the processing area, we have our own retail outlet, and then we have our restaurant, F&B. So we can say that from farm to plate. Think halal, buy Sara beef.
In terms of processing, you make use of modern digital process, including IoT. You know, I saw one in Korea producing vegetables and fruits. It's all controlled through the gadget. And temperature is controlled, humidity is controlled, fertilizer is controlled, water is controlled. And he just managed it, even he is outside Korea.
To the modern generation, farming is considered a 3D job: dirty, dangerous, and difficult. So in order to transform that, change that mindset, we have to use new technology, modern technology, which don't use so much labor and so on, like I said. So that's how we try to engage our youth, especially. Even in the crops sector, we are using drones, for example, now to identify crops which need fertilizer, which need intervention, they are not growing well. So now slowly technology is moving in to help our farmers, to help our industry.
There is always this worries by consumers, for example, of your meat being adulterated. You know, once, for example, one chunk of roll that is processed here in Siburan, it gets shipped out somewhere in Sriaman or Bau or something like that. You really do not know what happens after it leaves here, right? Our technology allows them to have that sort of control, to know that, for example, if I produce 10 kilograms of a chuck roll, this 10 kilograms of a chuck roll is what gets sold to the consumer. It's not been mixed with anything else. So this helps with strengthening their brand and being able to market it a lot stronger, especially outside of Sarawak itself. They are very keen to adopt this new technology, so we are very excited to work with them. Even at the operator level in their abattoir itself, all of them have been very keen and very excited to adopt this technology.
Now, because we're using the smart farming, every day 6 a.m. I just need to check my handphone. My supervisor is 7 o'clock. We'll check around the pond site, check the feeding tray, check the paddy wheel, make sure the current and feeding is correct. So all our pond is with the computer chip, because we're using the smart farming. Everything will send through my internet to my iPhone.
For the simple reason that through fertigation, you don't need a manual labor that much. You don't need to use hard labor. It's all being mechanized, all being automated. Your fertilization, your putting in the water, fertigation and so on are all controlled.
Pihak SCDC senantiasa memberi sokongan dan memberi kemudahan untuk kami menjalankan kerja.
Our new direction will be for higher quality poultry, which will then be able to provide another source of protein to the people. This is something in our pipeline. To do poultry and to do fish, pond and aquaculture for that matter, we will need the feed. And feed is something that is costly now, getting more and more costly in Sarawak, because we have to import our feed. We are actually embarking on a project to start producing our own feedstock for cattle, for fish and for poultry. And once we have this, we will also be able to supply feed to other farmers at a reasonable price. And this is also our contribution to the agriculture side. We are also embarking on a fishing project, and I think this is something very new. On collaborating with our partner, we are actually having our own vessels, and we are looking total of about 29 fishing vessels that will go out to fish in our own waters.
What an incredible journey so far. We've covered almost every corner of Sarawak.
Just as SEDC does.
Newer industries like tourism is important, but it's good to see that SEDC is still supporting traditional industries.
Helping them to develop into the modern world.
Wow, an increasingly globalized modern world.
And this modern world needs infrastructure such as roads, construction and public spaces.
And SEDC is still there to support it.
So join us next time to see how SEDC is connecting us up across the region.
And even more on the future of Sarawak under SEDC.
Entrepreneur development is one of the pillars of the setting up of SEDC. You go to any SEDC's throughout Malaysia, they have a very, very strong, firm stand on entrepreneur development. And it's basic.